Unless some things change, I think that a lot of the 2020's new sports card product will end up being worthless. Let's talk about it. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. How are we doing? It is another day. It is another sports card collectibles video. I'm excited to have you here. We've got kind of a fun topic we're going to go through today. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, the big red button down below, the like button if you like what you hear, and that notification bell so that you're notified every time a new video comes out, and it is fairly frequent. We will keep it coming. Also, don't forget to connect with me on IG at SportsCardDad, as well as the Twitter, the Sports Card Dad. All right, guys, as you probably know if you've watched my channel before, we are not afraid to tackle some of the tough subjects and just kind of tell it like it is. Unlike some of the others, we do not appease sponsors. We will not cater to the industry folks, so to speak. We're going to tell it like it is, and we will take on sponsors that make sense for us. One that we are going to take on starting next week is Card Shop Live. It is the company started by Mike Geo and friends. Gotten to know Mike over the last little bit here. He runs the Sports Card Nonsense YouTube channel as well as the Big Time podcast, and I just like those guys, and so I want to work with them. We decided to set something up, and so you will start to see some of that roll out next week, and we've got some different media partnerships and things that we'll be doing, so looking forward to that. All right, guys, ever since we got into, I would say for me, it struck me really kind of last year when we were looking at 2020 product, when we're looking at Select, Select being a product that used to be Select. It used to be hobby only. And then we heard that announcement about a year ago that it was going to be retail as well, retail and hobby. And when you start looking at all the new parallels that are being added, that's what really started this snowball down the mountain. Some people would say this started back in 2018, 2019, etc., with Ja Morant and Zion Williamson and Luka Doncic, even that stuff as well. But for me, it really kind of went next level when we did see it kind of move over into that 2020 product with Joe Burrow rookies, and now we've got Trevor Lawrence coming down the pike. There's going to be more Trevor Lawrence rookies than I think of any other player probably ever. I think there's going to be so many different variations and parallels of these cards. There's going to be thousands of different Trevor Lawrence rookie cards, which is a problem. So before you even get into the fact that the vast majority of the players are not going to work out. Now think too, a lot of the players are going to have Hall of Fame careers. They're going to have excellent careers. They're not going to turn out to be busts or bad players, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be hobby relevant over the long run. Really, if we're looking at guys that are really hobby relevant, you're talking about a very, very small percentage. And I'm not even just talking about GOATs. I'm talking about just all-stars that are well liked, that are just popular personalities. Even those guys, they are few and far between. So once you even get past that fact that a lot of the new players are not really going to be hobby relevant, then you go back to the production piece, and it kind of reminds me of the early 90s. We've talked about this before, but I remember in 1991 chasing Larry Johnson Upper Deck rookie cards, and I talk about Calbert Cheaney, Harold Miner, the Baby Jordan. This has been going on forever. The prospecting has been going on forever. And so what reminds me of this is the fact that Shaquille O'Neal, when he came out of LSU, was everything. He was bigger than life, literally, but he was also just such a dominant player right out of the gate. Him and Penny Hardaway down in Orlando, they were crushing it, and there was not a more exciting prospect coming out of school. It was like Zion, but in 1992, and Shaq really was everything. I mean, the guy was unstoppable underneath the basket. Always made fun of about his free throw percentages, and I remember early on, it was like, this guy can only dunk. He doesn't have a game. He doesn't have a hook shot. He has no moves. All this guy does is dunk, which in reality, that's all he really had to do because he was just that much bigger and stronger than everybody else. But he did develop kind of those little hook shots and developed a game around that. The problem though with that era is just that they, printed the absolute heck out of the stuff that was available. I remember, I think it's 92 Fleer Ultra is one of my favorite cards. I remember buying Fleer Ultra boxes as a kid, and I remember saving up for them. They weren't mega expensive. It would be, I think, like 24 packs or 36 packs in a box, maybe maybe, and I think they were like $50 or $60, which a lot of money when you're 12 years old, but I could save for it. I could save up allowance and get to it and open a box and hopefully get some of those Shaq rookies. And again, as we've talked about, it was all about kind of stacking those as opposed to, yes, the quality was important, but there was no grading scene. So it wasn't like you were paying that close attention. You were just putting in a top loader, penny sleeve top loader, and just trying to get as many as you can, or trade them out for more packs to open up more packs, or to trade them out for other cards. It was during that era where they just printed everything, and so there's not really that many special Shaq cards from his rookie year. You've got Topps Gold, I guess there's some scarcity back then, but not really. They hadn't really gotten to that point yet where they were really doing the mass-produced scarcity stuff. They weren't doing that yet. They hadn't moved into it. That was more mid to end of the 90s as we saw them start doing it with PMGs and all the other inserts that were numbered and so forth. And now, ironically, the problem is on the other end. So it's not as if they're just printing too much of one particular product like 92 Flair Ultra. It's that they've got so many different variations of scarcity. It basically makes nothing special. There's not really, we're starting to get to the point where even numbered cards, there's so many numbered cards that even numbered cards just aren't relevant. Unless you're looking for the black finite 1 of 1, we saw the Mac Jones go for 100K, then go for 175, that sort of craziness. Really parallels, they've gotten rid of base cards, and parallels are the new base cards. But again, like we've said in other videos, it's like a participation trophy at this point. You open it up, just a basic patch card, a napkin patch card is essentially a base card at this point. Even autographs, autographs have become just so, churned out with a lot of this stuff. And then what? You get the purple autograph card, or the red, or the teal, or the whatever. There's so many different variations. Somewhat ingenious if you're a Panini, because look, here's the thing. There's so much talk about the overprinting if you're Panini and the greed and blah, blah, blah. But here's reality, though. If you run a business, you're Panini, and over the last couple of years, nobody can get your product because it just sells out. You got grown men that are out there beating each other up to get this stuff in retail. If you are the person that is in charge of that business, yes, you want to have some sort of scarcity to where there's a secondary market for it to kind of keep that interest going. But you're running a business to make money. Corporations are not set up to be charitable. They can choose to do that. Corporations can give back to their communities and so forth, but they're not nonprofits. They're for profits. Their entire function is to make a profit and to grow their company. That is what a corporation's function is. So yes, we can get upset about this, that, or whatever, but the reality is that we also want them to stay in business to continue to innovate, to continue to hire, to continue to do all these things, and hopefully make the product, the process, and all that stuff better. Now we're going to have Fanatics that really is going to be kind of the face of this whole process. But, the whole idea of that, we should just have nothing available, we can't have it both ways. You can't have it to where, I want everything to be worth a bunch of money, but then I also want it to be available whenever I go and get it. When I go through Walmart, I want to be able to just grab a box whenever I want. Those things don't go together. So this is what we've got. It's this massive checklist with all the hits. My gosh, I'm sure if you watch breaks of this stuff, it's going to be monster hit. And you got Jake Plummer cards in this thing. You've literally got Marcus Colston. I love Marcus Colston. I'm a huge New Orleans Saints fan, but I was shocked to see Marcus Colston. Why is Marcus Colston on the checklist? Mike Allstott, great player. I couldn't stand him for the Bucks. He was always a problem for us. Why is he in the set? Doesn't make any sense. And you see the same thing, whether it's, baseball, the new Topps Baseball Series 1. And then you'll see it again with the basketball products too. And so here's again the problem is you can have amazing draft classes. You can have the next Shaquille O'Neal, but it won't matter in the long run because nobody's going to be able to figure out what's the chase card? What's the narrative going to be around that? Is a black finite 1 of 1 going to be the only one that's really hobby relevant? And then all the other stuff is just, that's an orange, that's a teal, that's a navy blue, and that's a light blue, and this is a medium blue. It's like this is a problem. So fortunately, we've got 100+ years of sports cards to go and look for. So even if the new product just isn't done right or whatever doesn't suit our needs, there's a long history of cards to chase. Now, I do think there's going to be certain cards, there's going to be certain things that kind of work themselves out in this new era. So that's why I said mostly worthless. Not everything is going to be worthless. There will be kind of trends, I think, that come out of this thing. But I'm just kind of curious to see what this looks like in 20 years, 25, 30 years, because I think it's going to look an awful lot like the early 90s. It's just on steroids. It's just a souped up version where instead of you going and trying to find Shaquille O'Neal Fleer Ultra rookie cards and stacking those and you're paying $1 a pack or even less per pack, now you're paying $20 a pack, $50 a pack, $80 per box. If you break down the cost and then you've got the grading and then you've got this and that. I mean, it's like my childhood, but it's just amped up to the nth degree, which in some ways I think is really cool, because when I was a kid, this is probably what I was kind of hoping for, was this sort of commerce and this sort of action attached to the hobby. So I'm not saying it's all bad. It's just different, but I'm just concerned about how it's going to look moving forward. If Trevor Lawrence wins 7-8 Super Bowls and is the next Tom Brady, which card is going to be the card, or which cards? There's going to be so many rookie cards and parallels and variations of that particular rookie card. It's going to be wild. But let's play devil's advocate and look at the flip side of all of this thing. Let's look at it. So a lot of people are just saying, hey, they're going to print everything. Everything's going to be worthless. Nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people are saying this, and they're not necessarily wrong, but the piece that we just don't know moving forward is the demand side. So there are a lot of people, look, there's a lot of things going on economically. I talk about it all the time on the channel. There's stuff that's going on in the industry that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, that are negatives towards the hobby as far as interest goes. But guess what? There is a lot of hobby interest. Shows are packed. People are buying this product. It's still selling. $1,500 hobby boxes are still selling. Breaks are still selling out. It's all still happening. Now, maybe that does slow down over the next year or two, but I'm not talking about just the next year or two. Again, we're not just taking short-term looks at this. We're looking at this long-term. What's the big elephant in the room? It's that Fanatics is taking over a $30 billion company that wants to, 10x? And I even heard, we'd love to 100x this thing. They're not getting in to lose money, or they're not getting in to break even. They're getting in to make money and expand the hobby. And so the assumption that we're making is that demand is going to stay kind of where it is now, or even be less than where it is now. So, Fanatics is going to put out all this product, Topps, Panini, they're going to throw out all this product and nobody's going to care about it, and it's just going to sit on shelves. That could happen, but what might happen instead is more and more people might get into the hobby and might stay in. It might become more mainstream and have staying power. That's the variable that is going to dictate a lot of this stuff. And of course, demand is always going to go like this. You're going to have, ebbs and flows with everything. But the main piece is, are the Fanatics people going to successfully be able to make this a mainstream deal? Are they going to have TV commercials? Is it going to be a mainstream thing in the same way that it was in the late 80s, early 90s, but an amped up version of it? When you hear the talk of what these companies want to do, it's big talk. It is big talk. They want to have bigger and better card shows. They want to have better products. They want to have they want all of it, times 10, times 100. If Fanatics wasn't involved, if Fanatics wasn't even in this game and it was just Panini and Topps, then this would be less of a conversation. It would be kind of like, okay, it's going to probably be the same old thing. But we have disruptors here in this hobby. We have disruptors that have gotten in. And that's the part that we just don't know. So while all this stuff could be bad, we could look forward and say like, wow, now we have 10x, 100x, whatever it ends up being, more collectors / investors / flippers / blah, 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 whatever you call yourself. And this stuff actually just keeps on selling. The prices do stay up because people want it. That's the part we just don't know. So that's going to be the key ingredient. That's going to be the variable that really kind of stirs the soup, so to speak. Guys, let me know your thoughts. I know, hey, look, we've been talking about, there's macroeconomic stuff that looks really terrible, frankly, but there's also a lot of hobby optimism. So you've got these competing factors clashing with each other. It is going to be fun to watch, and we will be here for it. Stay healthy, stay awesome. I'll talk to you again later.